The quiet calm of Port Charles was once again threatened by long-buried secrets, and this time, the tremor started not from Windermere or sunny Corinthos Empire, but from within the very soul of General Hospital. A hidden truth, years in the making, was about to break open, and at the center of the storm was Rick Lansing, with a truth so staggering that Elizabeth Weber may never recover. This is the story of betrayal, bloodlines, and justice undone. And it all begins with a name, Isaiah. It was a quiet morning at the hospital. Elizabeth Weber was charting patient progress on the 10th floor when she heard the echo of familiar footsteps. Turning the corner, her breath caught in her throat. "Rick?" she whispered, her voice equal parts disbelief and caution. Rick Lansing, her former husband and long-estranged confidant, hadn't been seen in Port Charles in years. The last anyone knew, he had relocated to Chicago, practicing law and keeping his distance from the chaos of Sonny's world. "I need to talk to you," Rick said, his voice low and grave. Elizabeth narrowed her eyes. "After everything, after you vanished, now you show up? Why?" Rick didn't flinch. "Because it's time. You need to know the truth about Isaiah." Liz stiffened. "What truth?" Rick looked around, ushering her into the empty, waiting lounge. "The truth about what he did. And why he did it." Rick pulled a battered leather briefcase from under his coat and slid it onto the coffee table. Inside were documents, photographs, and police reports, some dating back over a decade. "Isaiah has everyone fooled," Rick said. "But I know who he really is. I prosecuted his case once. Or at least, I tried to." Elizabeth blinked. "You tried to prosecute Isaiah?" Rick nodded slowly. "Years ago. Long before he ever showed up in Port Charles under that name. Back then, he was going by Isaac Jordan, and he was being investigated for a brutal assault in Detroit. A young woman, nurse at a clinic, was left paralyzed." Elizabeth recoiled. "No, there must be a mistake. Isaiah saved lives here. He's helped children. He's helped me." "He reinvented himself," Rick said. "That's what psychopaths do. But he didn't do it alone. He had help from someone powerful in the Department of Justice who wanted him to infiltrate certain criminal networks. They wiped his record clean temporarily." Liz's head was spinning. "You're telling me Isaiah, who has worked beside me for months, is some kind of former government asset? With a violent past?" Rick nodded solemnly. "And now he's off the leash." Rick's voice dropped even lower. "That's not the worst part. He's not here by coincidence. He came here for someone." "Who?" Elizabeth asked, her voice shaking. "You," Rick said. Liz froze. "Why would Isaiah target me?" "Because of your connection to Jeff Weber," Rick said grimly. "Your father was involved in an experimental drug trial overseas. A woman named Mara Jordan, Isaiah's mother, died during that trial, and Isaiah believes Jeff Weber was responsible." Elizabeth stumbled backward, as if struck. "That was decades ago." Rick sighed. "But Isaiah doesn't care about time. He's been building toward this for years. Ingratiating himself, waiting, gaining access to everyone close to you. He wants revenge." Elizabeth's memories flashed back, times when Isaiah had asked seemingly innocent questions about her father, or the way he had reacted strangely when Jeff came to visit. How he had comforted her, bonded with her sons, especially Jake. Suddenly, the puzzle pieces began to fit together in a horrifying way. "He's been using my family," Liz whispered, tears welling up. "What has he done, Rick?" Rick opened another file. "He's already tampered with Drew Kane's medical charts. He's been giving Jason misleading reports about his recovery. And the drugs you were administering to TJ's research group?" Isaiah modified the dosages. Elizabeth's hands trembled. "Someone could die. That's his endgame," Rick said. "To ruin everything tied to your family. And he won't stop until you're completely destroyed." Liz stared at Rick. "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because I owe you," Rick said. "I did a lot of things wrong. I lied, manipulated, hurt you, and I don't expect forgiveness. But if I can protect you from him, then maybe I can make amends." Elizabeth's jaw clenched. "We have to go to the police." Rick shook his head. "It won't work. He has immunity documentation from his time as a DOJ asset. They'll say it's inadmissible, that it was expunged. Then what? Elizabeth asked, her voice cracking. We just sit and wait for him to hurt someone else. No, Rick said. We find what he's hiding, something they missed. A new crime. Something recent. Something real. Together, Rick and Elizabeth started investigating. They pulled hospital logs, video surveillance, and lab samples. It wasn't easy. Isaiah was meticulous. But then came the breakthrough. A nurse named Julia, who had left GH 2 months ago after a mental breakdown, reached out to Elizabeth after hearing whispers Isaiah might be under scrutiny. Julia admitted Isaiah had cornered her in the stairwell, accused her of tampering with a trial, and threatened her into silence. She had audio recordings. Not admissible in court, but damning nonetheless. Liz played the file. Isaiah's voice was unmistakable. You think I don't see everything? You think I won't destroy everything she loves if you open your mouth? The terror in Julia's voice was real. Rick, Liz whispered. This is it. This is how we stop him. Rick and Elizabeth made their move. They went to Jordan Ashford, who was hesitant at first, but once she reviewed the materials, including audio files, Rick's suppressed case files, and Julia's sworn statement, she launched a covert investigation. Meanwhile, Isaiah was beginning to suspect something. He confronted Elizabeth one night in the GH lab, his tone eerily calm. You've been avoiding me. Liz stared at him, holding her ground. Because I know what you are. Isaiah's face darkened, the mask slipping. You don't know anything, he hissed. I know you're not who you say you are. And I know what you did to Julia. His eyes glinted with something almost reptilian. You should have left it alone, Elizabeth. Now it's too late. But before Isaiah could move, Rick emerged from the shadows, along with Jordan and a group of officers. Isaiah Jordan announced. You're under arrest for intimidation, tampering with medical records, and obstruction of justice. Isaiah didn't fight. He just stared at Liz with a twisted smile. This isn't over, he said, as cuffs clicked around his wrists. With Isaiah behind bars, the hospital staff tried to pick up the pieces. Drew's health stabilized, thanks to revised protocols. Jason confronted Liz about what she had known and forgiven herself for missing. I trusted him, Liz whispered. He made me believe he was one of us. We've all been fooled before, Jason said quietly. But you stopped him. Still, Elizabeth couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. He was in my home, around my kids. Rick offered her a quiet nod. You saved them, Liz. You always do. Jordan promised to pursue federal charges, and Julia, now vindicated, was rehired at GH with full back pay. As for Rick, he didn't stay. He left as quickly as he came, this time with no promises. 1 week later, a letter arrived at Liz's doorstep. Elizabeth, you've won for now. But the truth is, you and I are more alike than you think. You wear your scrubs like armor, but inside, you want justice just like I did. The difference is you still think it's possible. I don't. Say hi to your father for me. Isaiah, ***. Liz crumpled the letter in her hands, her eyes hard. No, she whispered. We're nothing alike. Elizabeth stood at the nurse's station, watching the people she cared about, the hospital, her sons, her friends, move forward. But something inside her had shifted. No longer just a nurse, she had faced down a predator, hiding behind a mask of compassion. And she had survived. And now? She was ready to fight harder than ever, for truth, for justice, and for every patient who walked through GH's doors. Because in Port Charles, enemies come in many forms. But so do heroes. And Elizabeth Weber had just proven she was one of the strongest. Isaiah's trial begins, and secrets about his real family may shake Port Charles again. Rick makes a shocking return during testimony, but is he hiding a second agenda? Elizabeth's father, Jeff Weber, resurfaces with a confession of his own. Jason and Elizabeth grow closer in the aftermath, but danger still lurks. And a surprise visitor connected to Isaiah's past could bring down the entire hospital board.